Hey everybody, good evening and welcome to the Fatal Vision Podcast. This is James McGinnis. Billy, we've got you. Are you online? Are you
Here.
with us? You're here.
I'm with you. Now,
All right,
what are
you are
they
with
seeing
us.
on their screen? Are they seeing it's like a
Yeah,
split?
I guess what they're seeing is what we already is the split. What we're showing now. Should I? It's pretty sloppy, huh? Stop sharing
No, it
for
looks
now.
good. Looks good. Yeah, so maybe we could stop the share for now and we
All right,
can
let's
kind of
stop the share for now. What are they seeing? Stop sharing for now. All right, so it's just there
sorry,
when we
sorry
need
to
it.
people that only listen on the
Yeah,
Apple.
yeah. Well, I just got an update from Apple Podcasts saying, you've got to accept the new terms about our video podcasting coming out. So,
You got your collar
uh,
pop tonight, I noticed.
no, no, no. Sorry.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's not cool at all, man. Didn't mean to do that.
It's all
Thank God
right.
nobody's here yet. We have one person in the chat. That's okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm a little somber tonight. Usually we're high energy, energetic. I'm not feeling it right now. I'll be honest. Feeling
Yeah,
pretty
we
depressed.
have we're here tonight for our regular this is our regular show, and I have the book here in case we do end up reading. But we're coming to you tonight as journalists who cover this case, who follow developments in the case. We want to keep you informed about what's going on.
Yeah,
And you might,
and I think just on the human level, I know a lot of people out there. Um, this was a tough week. I mean, it's the toughest week of the year. It's the anniversary of the murder.
yep, the anniversary
You
of the
know,
murder was 2 days ago.
yeah, and so the night of was sort of the night going into that day. And I'll tell you, I didn't sleep very well that night. It's not a
I
not
woke up to text from you at like 1 in the morning.
didn't fall asleep till between 2 and 3, and then woke up between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was not a very restful night. Um, and then I saw a few people in the threads sharing similar experiences, and where it's obviously affecting everybody. And then by the end of the 17th, um, in the evening, I saw I was just getting ready to try to get some sleep, and saw that there had been this extremely creepy and depressing development in the case in regards to McDonald, Jeffrey McDonald, today in 2026.
So why don't I jump in a little bit for some
Yeah,
context?
please, fill us in. So yeah, this is
So
yeah. Go ahead.
months ago, James and I recorded an episode where we broke with our usual format and we called it an emergency podcast because it seemed like an emergency at the time. There's this network, I don't know much about it, but there's a network called Newsmax, and there's a host on that network named Greg Kelly. And the reason we did the emergency podcast was Greg Kelly devoted a segment of his show on Newsmax to the MacDonald case, where he walked through his knowledge of the case, which was all wrong, basically. Um, he's very much in the camp of MacDonald didn't do it. He was railroaded by overzealous federal prosecutors, and then he made some kind of argument. And James, you can correct me if you think I'm misstating
Oh,
this.
I would just mention that I think he had on that occasion, he had MacDonald's current
Oh, I
lawyer.
was going to get to that.
Yeah, okay. No, no,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
then just keep going. Keep going.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I'm about to say I might be misremembering, but
Yeah.
I think he posited that there's some kind of cosmic connection between McDonald and the president.
Yeah, he did. I think he did that, and I think you'll hear it again in the more recent.
Got okay.
Yeah,
So he walked through all that, and
it was very sloppy. It was very sloppy. Like it was really just sort of like he's like sort of conflating Ken Micah as exculpatory, which is crazy because Ken Micah was the second witness at the trial.
yes, and so,
So
but here's what I'm
yeah,
getting at. Let me just get to the end of this. So,
yeah. Sorry, yeah. You just finish your thoughts. I'm just here, man. It's all good.
well, I want everyone to know what we're talking about. So,
Yeah,
as you mentioned on that episode, Hart Miles, Jeffrey's
yeah.
lawyer today, was a guest and made a direct appeal to Greg Kelly and to the audience and to the president through the audience and through Greg Kelly to give Jeffrey some peace, give Jeffrey some relief. He's been through enough. And they shared that photo of Jeff, a recent photo where he looks like he's doing pretty bad. So James and I saw that segment and immediately thought, okay, this is obviously the beginning of some massive tour that the MacDonald camp is about to go on to try to push for a pardon.
Yeah.
And then, wonder of wonders, nothing happened. Again,
Like, yeah, nothing ever happens. Isn't that the joke? Yeah.
nothing happened for a while.
Nothing happened for a while. We did pick up that there was Alan Dershwin, I think that's his name, the lawyer, was on Greg Kelly in April of last year. Same thing. MacDonald needs peace. It's hard to keep up with it because I Google Jeffrey MacDonald every day, and these appearances don't even show up on Google. If you search by within the last week, they just get buried. So I don't know. He could have done like 30 McDonald's segments last year. I really don't know because I do DVR the program since that initial appearance, and I have not been faithfully high speed, low speed scrubbing through the Greg Kelly report every night. I just haven't been.
So on our emergency episode last year, we walked through point by point every assertion that Kelly made about the case and why it was wrong. That's where
Yes.
the Ken Micah detail came up.
Stokely he loves Stokely, and then he really hates Joe McGinnis. He says Joe McGinnis is crazy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the book was proven to be full of lies. And it's he said that again on. Oh, anyway, so we don't want to jump ahead. We're still staying in the moment here. So
Right. So
that was
now,
2025. 2025. We were like, is there a pardon tour coming? Is Hart Miles going to go on any other shows? He hasn't been on any shows since then.
that we know of.
I think that was a year. Yes,
Greg,
true.
but Greg Kelly keeps an interest in this case. So now we're going to play you a clip because this is the news that we have to break tonight, and we're very
This is
sorry.
breaking news because you guys, we don't. It's not it doesn't really penetrate. So that what happened is I do my standard Jeffrey MacDonald Googling, and then I saw someone on Twitter, formerly known as X, say, tweet at Greg Kelly. It's like, oh, you think McGinnis is bad? He moved in next to Sarah Palin. Like, look into that. And I was like, oh, what's Greg? Like, what does that mean? Like, and I saw the date, and I was like, Greg Kelly must have said something on his show on the 13th, on Friday. So this is the end of the day, 17th. So I'm just emotionally just gassed. Just just totally empty. And I pull up this clip, and first of all, he does the same he just does sort of a greatest hits redo of everything we described. of MacDonald, and it's not fair, and the deep state prosecutors, they chased him for 9 years, and he gave him so many trials till they finally got a conviction. You couldn't possibly get more wrong. But then what got my attention was he's like, well, we're going to have the Pardon Czar for the current administration on the program in a little bit, and we'll see what she says. And that kind of got me a little bit worried. So we'll go ahead and play. Yeah,
well,
I should play that clip now.
Should I tell you who she is?
Yeah, can you tell me who she is? Because I'd never heard of her. I mean, I knew there was a Pardon Czar. I kept an interest in pardons since this came up last year. Just always sort of keeping it on in the background.
So here's where it's a little bit complicated in terms of my like emotional reaction, and I'm curious what people in the chat would think, because so the Pardon Czar is a woman named Alice Marie Johnson, and she was convicted of drug charges. Yeah, she had some involvement in cocaine trafficking in 1996, and got sentenced to federal prison for quite a long time. She became a grandmother while in prison, became a great grandmother while in prison, and she ended up getting a lot of attention from criminal justice reform advocates because her sentence felt so excessive. So you had like the ACLU lobbying for a commutation. During Trump's first term, Kim Kardashian got involved and was pushing for her release and brought this before Trump. So then Trump released Miss Alice from prison, and it's actually a nice story. Like, she's a good person, and
well, she was. She could still be, depending on what happens next. But go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I'll stick to what I said. She's a good person who now in the Trump in Trump 2 has this official position within the administration where she vets pardon or commutation requests. Now, she went on Greg Kelly's show to talk about something else. She went on Greg Kelly's show to talk about pardons of former NFL players, and we're going to watch it, but from what it looked like to me, it seemed like Kelly just sprung this on her, and it didn't seem like she really knew what was going on. But again, we'll watch it. It does seem important, though. Like, this is a break in the story that literally, an appeal for MacDonald's release has been made straight to the administration, straight to the person with the power to do it.
So yeah, and you told me the other day is if she said she wanted MacDonald to pardon, it would happen, no question.
Yeah,
that's what you told me.
I think. Yeah, I think she's listened to, and she uses her position for good. There are a lot of good people that she's helped. So we can watch this clip, and
yeah, we'll see. So yeah, we'll just that gives you the background, and now we'll let you see what we're talking about. I'm going to share my screen, as they say,
and you'll be able to hear it, folks.
Yes, for all you folks listening at home. All right, here it is.
It's Alice Marie Johnson. I have another one for you that may not be a slam dunk. It's a little bit complicated, but we'd like to run it by you. Take a look, if you don't mind.
Within these walls, a family began a new life together. The happiest times Colette and Jeff MacDonald ever knew. Within these walls, it all came to an end. Now, if these walls could only talk, the truth would be known. I did not murder my wife and children. Based on the true story, Fatal Visions, Sunday.
So this is a very famous case involving Dr. Jeffrey MacDonald. He was convicted of killing his wife and daughters. Now, there are legions of people out there. I think we have a picture or two. He was in the Army. People believe in his innocence. A lot of people believe that the government kind of had a vendetta to get him because they tried and tried and tried for a decade or so to finally get him. He's now 82 years old with failing kidneys in prison, and his prison roommate is 31 and a drug dealer. So it's not 82 and in prison. How do people, and maybe not a pardon, but a commutation, and this is for the experts to decide, but would somebody like that potentially be eligible for a commutation or some sort of sympathetic release? Because it looks like he's at death's door, quite frankly.
Oh, it looks like possibly this gentleman might fit the criteria for compassionate release, especially with his failing health. I can't speak for certain on that, but we carefully vet every case that comes to us. And I'm going to tell you, Greg, our president loves giving people a second chance. I think, and he's going to go down as one of the most compassionate presidents of our lifetime, because when I take cases before him, you should see the light on his face when he knows that someone deserves his second chance. He loves to call the families up. He loves to call the individuals up. And when I brought these cases to him of these NFL players, you'd be surprised how knowledgeable he was about every single player. And, you know, redemption, I believe in redemption. I believe in restoration. I believe that people make mistakes, but there should also be a pathway to redemption and restoration. This is not an easy job because there's so many people who deserve it. But we do the best that we can with the time that we have. And at the end of the day, Greg, we can only do what we can do in this time period that we have. And I've made it my mission to find as many of those deserving individuals as possible.
Understood. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations to the football players. Hey, and one more word about Dr. MacDonald. He's a medical doctor. President Trump once wished happy birthday to the Green Berets, and I think we have the tweet. It was Jeffrey MacDonald's picture that they used, and a lot of people there was all kinds of controversy about it, but it turned out, in my opinion, to be a kind of cool potential connection. Alice Marie Johnson, I'm so happy for you that you're in the position you're in and you're able to do this remarkable work after what you've been through. You are the perfect person for the job, and I'm so glad President Trump has you by his side. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I was muted there. I got no issue with Miss Alice in that clip. That's Greg Kelly has an issue.
Sure.
Greg Kelly's got an issue. He showed the tweet where Trump is being trolled. It's a guy saying, "Hey,
it was a
badass grandfather."
Yeah, no, and that was from 2015 or something. You know, it's 11 years ago now. It's not a cool connection. Yeah, I mean, if that's really the only, I guess, you know, if that's the only pitch that he had, it's just very striking to me that the appeal has been made now. You know, it's out of our hands into the Alice's hands. She didn't say no.
Yeah, she also didn't know who Jeffrey MacDonald is, and no, I watched that clip, and I think Kelly is a tool.
I do too. No, I think it was really.
And Miss Alice very clearly, she heard what he said, was like, okay, maybe, and then she pivoted to the message she wants to get across about commutations and pardons, right?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah. So, I will share that I've shared this with both of the lead prosecutors in the criminal trial, and they were both shaken by it.
I know. I know. I was too. I'm just trying to
I'm
respond
not saying,
honestly.
yeah, I'm not trying to prejudge what Alice is going to do. So I guess we're just at the point now where either every day McDonald's not released or pardoned, we consider a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love to have Greg Kelly come on here.
Oh, I want to point. Yeah, I want to actually. Do you want to catch? We did a lot of on the ground stuff in the last couple of days. We reached out to Greg Kelly directly, um, and we called Hart Miles yesterday on the phone together. Billy was on the phone too, and we didn't get him. Didn't went to voicemail, but we left him a voicemail, and I think it was a very polite one, extremely cordial, and just asking what, like, I'd like to know what you can share about what's going on with this with McDonald. How sick is he? What's wrong with him? What are you trying to do? What's the goal here? And he hasn't gotten back to me. It's been more than 24 hours. So I encourage anybody to Google Hart Miles, HartMiles. He's an attorney in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you'll find his phone number on his website. You can give him a call. He welcomes anybody to call. So he might be
Apparently.
more inclined to talk to you than to me.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys can you can get involved. It's one way to get involved in the case is to speak to McDonald's counsel, who thinks that securing him freedom at the buzzer right before death is a worthy pursuit, and I think we should all take an active role right now. I don't know, Billy. The thought of McDonald getting out of prison for even 1 second of freedom before collapsing dead on the ground is just absolutely gut wrenching to me, and I wonder why that is. Because
Yeah, why do you think
sometimes
that?
I talk to people who say, we've heard the interviews with, with jurors who are saying, "Oh, I don't have a problem with him. You could release him today, and I wouldn't mind." And like someone like Bob Keeler or Mark Smerling, who have principled views against incarceration, from moral and philosophical viewpoints, and how it's dehumanizing and damaging, and they don't. And then when I talked to either of them, I never talked to Keeler, but I've heard him interviewed saying that he's not a prison guy, he doesn't like prison, doesn't think there should be prison. So it kind of puts, when I hear them having this abstract philosophical approach, it's like, hasn't he, like, he's already done more time than any federal prisoner. Like, what more do you want from him? And
Mhm.
I'm just like, fuck that. I want him to die there. So what is it about? Is it because I'm emotionally involved? And if I had an objective viewpoint, I would be okay with a more compassionate view toward human life in the form of McDonald? What am I missing? Or what are they missing? I feel I've never felt anything more um, strongly than just McDonald stays in prison till he dies. Period.
I think that desire that you feel is rooted in a few things. I think it has to do with genuine moral outrage at the suffering that he inflicted, not only that one night, but every day since that he's continued to lie about it. I think you're outraged by his desire to torment his adversaries, the Kassabs, your father, go down the list. and you want to see the ultimate triumph of good, and you see so much evil emanating from this person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably it. I also think you, given your connection to the case through your father, but then through your father to Freddie Kassab, and the sacrifice that Freddie Kassab made to bring Jeffrey MacDonald to justice, I think you want it for him as well, because
Yeah,
you know that's what
of
he
course.
wanted.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question that Freddie would be able to say something incredibly articulate right now about why it's not right. I mean, that's why, that he recorded that video toward the parole board in '89. It was so effective.
Was there something you wanted to read from that?
No, I don't have anything prepared from it. What did you? Oh, what did we?
You said Bob to Pruitt.
Oh, well, that was from the book, but I think actually what you're suggesting is Bob Stevenson at the 2005 parole hearing, and I
That
would
is
like
what
to read from
that
that.
is what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. That you knowing that that's what I wanted, without me knowing it. Yeah, let's read that. I think that's worth. I think it's worth it to pause and give over the time to Colette's brother, as he was at the 2005 parole hearing, giving a victim impact statement.
You'd like to read the whole thing?
I would like to read the whole thing.
Okay.
I think that's appropriate. I think, given that there's an appeal made to the one person who has the control to give MacDonald freedom, now that all courts have eliminated this chance, I will read this.
Okay.
All right. This is Robert Stevenson's letter to the U.S. Parole Commission, April 15th, 2005. Gentlemen, my stepfather, Alfred Freddie Kassab, made the enclosed tape sworn statement for the Parole Commission consideration on June 23rd, 1989. The transcript of the tape is labeled by me as Exhibit 1. It was made by him regard to the potential application for the parole of prisoner Jeffrey MacDonald, as he feared MacDonald would make such a request at some time in the future, if not on that specific opportunistic date. I present this unedited tape and its transcript thereof to you, as it was one of the final specific requests of Fred Kassab that he made of me personally just before his death, that I personally present his sworn statement to you, and let his words speak for him and what he felt at that time, and that his statement be read into the record in addition to any statement that I would make, and this letter, as the last surviving member of the Stevenson family, in summation of the many harms that have been suffered at MacDonald's hands, not only by the direct victims in his family who he slaughtered without mercy on that fateful night long ago, but by the remaining members of the family, those in fact not contained in Mr. Kassab's list of victimizations at the hands of this most brutal and unrepentant of killers, who is now resident in the U.S. BOP system. Mr. Kassab knew at that time that his health was failing, and that it was very possible that he would not personally be able to testify at what he then anticipated to be a first appeal for parole by MacDonald in 1991. My mother, Mildred, was already too ill at that time to take part in this sworn statement, and as such, I will cover those further impacts to both Mr. and Mrs. Kassab in my own personal statements, and the further harms perpetrated by and the crimes committed for which MacDonald was deservingly sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. The damage to the lives of all of the Stevenson Kassab relatives will be updated by me, as the continuing victimization of the family has been part of our lives each and every day since the conviction of MacDonald. His harm to our family has not stopped for 1 minute since his conviction, and continues to this very day. This attached transcript is the sworn statement of the impact on Freddie and Mildred Kassab up to that point in their lives. It does not cover the intervening years during which they both have died, nor the full circumstances of all of the varied impacts on their lives from and after the conviction of MacDonald for the uniquely brutal triple homicide of his family on the night of February 17, 1970. At the time Freddie made the tape, he had as yet no idea that the case will continue to haunt and distort his life and that of my mother, and that the conviction of this ghastly murderer was only the beginning of their suffering, not the end of it. They've received scores of letters from people hoping that their lives could again be restored, but it was not to be. They died involved in and harmed by the brutality of the crimes, as there was never a day my mother did not think about Colette and the little girls. And there was never a day that Fred Kassab was not involved in chasing down some new effort of MacDonald's to try to squirm out from under his conviction or the appearance of his guilt. Particularly not addressed in this statement are the further intrusions and distortions to their lives caused by MacDonald during and since that time, in the form of the financial, social, psychological, and emotional harms done to and losses suffered by them as victims of this awesomely gruesome crime, and his continuing public streams of innuendo, falsehoods, lies, and familial slurs. The Kassabs never enjoyed a minute of peace from the time that he was convicted until the time they both had died. Fred Kassab's finances were decimated as a result of MacDonald's continuing actions, and he was never again able to give his full efforts to business, owing to the continual stream of lies and misinformation MacDonald and others floated on the public. The steady stream of letters he sent to the many media people MacDonald lied to and manipulated is shown by the files of letters and responses he left behind. As a result, he had to give up any further business efforts he might have continued as a broker of whole and broken egg products nationally and internationally, which had been his business earlier. Psychologically, my mother was destroyed by the murders, as she had previous Colettes born, and they died at or soon after birth, and her only female child was gruesomely killed. She could never get the autopsy pictures out of her mind that MacDonald's counsel had placed near her seated position in the courtroom during the trial. She basically did not wish to continue her life, but recognizing that my father had taken his own life and I had suffered from this in so many ways, she continued her life with little pleasure on a day-to-day basis. Socially, the Kassabs had no life from the time that the murders occurred until their deaths, as their lives had been so distorted that they withdrew into their retirement house and lived a solitary life. As to my wife and myself, our lives were never the same again either. We had unending hours of horror and everything from nightmares to psychological damage which required that we both seek psychotherapy in order to maintain our balance in life. On 2 occasions, I lost jobs as the employers felt that he has too much on his plate at this time to be efficient and productive. And to this day, we hope we will not be recognized and linked to this horrendous crime as it becomes a topic of interest or conversation to anyone who knows, and the inability to escape the crimes and their aftermath is intolerable. I have had to witness the indirect destruction of my mother and stepfather because of these crimes and their aftermath. More than that, it has been pointed out to me that in killing my sister and her 2 female offspring, the DNA which is passed down from generation to generation has been ended forevermore. And that branch, if you will, of the Stevenson family tree has been ended on this earth forever. He had ended my family very effectively, I would submit, and I am a true victim as well. The facts here are simple. MacDonald was convicted of a jury of 3 counts of murder, 2 in the 2nd degree for those of Colette and Kimberly, and the 3rd, the brutal execution of his youngest child, Kristen, done by him in order to attempt to place the blame on an outside group as an act would appear so unspeakable, so improbable by a father, that he thought this awesomely horrible crime would throw suspicion off himself and make it more believable that outside intruders had committed the crimes, a fact that was easily disproved by the physical evidence in the case and his many differing versions of the crime over the years in his testimony, etc. MacDonald has had his time and opportunity over the years to allow for more litigation, resulting ultimately in 7 appeals to the Supreme Court of the United States, all of which have been denied, and in any other courts involved. More than has ever been accorded a similar litigation for the crime of murder. And he has had more of the famous and infamous lawyers than were necessary to make his defense. He certainly can never claim to have been underrepresented or his cause under-litigated. Be that as it may, we are not here to try this crime in any way, but merely to determine if there is any possible reason why MacDonald should again walk the streets of this earth as a free man. What he did was already decided by a jury. The answer is a simple, clear, resounding no. Why should he? MacDonald is seeking release, still maintaining his innocence, and any intervention by the parole board to this end would amount to a pardon, which clearly is not within the options available to the hearing officers, as the crime has already been more than fully adjudicated. First of these reasons as to why MacDonald should not be released are the autopsy photographs, which the Department of Justice will provide to you, so that you may better measure the physical impact and the gravity of the crimes of which he was convicted, as a brutal man bent on the destruction of his family, showing them no mercy whatsoever. The following list of wounds and damage to each of his victims came from the autopsies done by the listed personnel as follows. Wounds to Colette. Autopsy done by Major George E. Gamble. 3 deep head lacerations. A skull fracture beneath the center of the forehead. 9 deep incision knife wounds on the front of her neck. 7 incision knife wounds on her chest. Over her left breast there were 21 small puncture wounds. 2 distinct types of penetrating wounds. 3 puncture wounds on the left front arm. A right wrist fracture. Left arm fractured in 2 places. The lower part of the arm bone was pushed in an upward motion, then broken again, just below the elbow, causing the bone to penetrate the skin. Wounds to Kimberly. Autopsy done by Captain William Hancock, supervised by Major Gamble. Multiple blows to the right side of her head, at least half a dozen or more. Multiple fractures at the base of the skull. The right calvarium, the upper dome-like section of the head, was dislocated and fractured through the entire thickness. Lacerations of the trachea. 8 to 10 penetrating wounds overlapping each other, making it somewhat difficult to count the exact number on the center right neck area. Right eye was recessed. Nose was broken and deviated to the left. Her jaw was fractured. Wounds to Kristen. Autopsy done by William Hancock, supervised by Major Gamble. 4 incisional wounds into her heart. Neck and chest wounds were gaping. 5 circular wounds penetrated deep into her chest. 10 similar wounds on her right chest. These wounds did not penetrate deeply. The neck had 2 circular wounds similar to the previous ones mentioned, and they were shallow on the right and center areas of the neck. There were multiple small pinpoint hemorrhage areas on the skin, bruising on the left lateral neck area, and a small bruise on the left side of her chin. The right lateral neck and the superior portion of the right shoulder had superficial abrasions. The gaping posterior wounds were more bruised than the anterior chest wounds. The neck and trachea showed minor spaced hemorrhage and intratrachea bloody fluid not clotted, suggesting stab wounds to the neck, trachea, and anterior chest were sustained after or shortly before death. 10 stab wounds were in the upper posterior back, and 2 were over the shoulder blade, likely caused by contact with a soft object of variable force. Contusions on the left side of the neck, left chin, right buttocks, and right elbow. On the right hand, there was a through and through, entering one place and exiting another on the ring finger, and 3 superficial on the back of the same finger. On the palm surface of the right index finger, there was a triangular flap of skin incised from the subcutaneous tissue. In the web between the thumb and the index finger on the right hand, a superficial incision with sharp border 1 centimeter in length. A blunt object caused the abrasions on the right side of the neck and upper shoulder, and those on the shoulder show a heaping of the skin at the outer edge of the abrasion, which suggested the blows were sustained in a downward motion. It will give you the sense of his efforts to go back and cold-bloodedly finish the job on Colette and Kimberly so that his story would wash, which clearly made those 2 offenses first-degree murder as well, since the decision to kill them was an ongoing process in his mind until he had finished the job. Second, and not originally accorded the attention such a crime would get in today's more life-conscious world, is that in murdering his wife, Colette, he also took the life of a 4th person, his midterm unborn son, who he clearly killed just as well when he slaughtered his wife in cold blood, and in a cruel, calculated, and cowardly manner. The Green Beret, in quotes, versus a pregnant woman and 2 little girls, with results like those shown in the autopsy photographs. Why consider a parole for such a man? How can the small part of time he has now served as part of his total sentence of 3 consecutive life sentences meted out to him be seen as any meaningful measure of what the informed and procedurally correct scales of justice saw as an appropriate and just punishment for the crimes and the inhumane acts he committed, which would even be considered abnormal in the animal kingdom, let alone a civilized world? And let us not forget, once again, no remorse. Third, Please remember Freddie's well-taken opinion voiced in this tape that had the jury remained out another hour, that they would have come back with 3 murder ones rather than 2 murder twos and 1 murder one, because they would have realized that Colette survived the initial attack on her. Kimberly survived the initial attack on her, and it wasn't until maybe a half an hour later that he attacked them a second time. Fourth, and even more to the point, I have never heard of a case before, nor have those many people who have spoken to me about any possible parole for MacDonald, where even the possibility of a parole of any nature would be considered after a crime of such enormity, when the felon continues to remain unrepentant and refuses to accept his guilt, nor show any remorse, and in a provable manner continues to distort the truth, and continues thereby to bring grief to the lives of remaining victims by these and other actions. And he expects by some strange transmogrification of the facts again at his will, and by his interpretations of what is right and what is wrong, that he should be allowed to go off and pursue a new life with a new family. I ask you, why? What about the family he destroyed? Is he to walk away from that without completing his sentence, or at least a reasonable portion thereof, or showing responsibility and repentance for his acts of the past? It certainly would be contrary to legal requirements in existence that no act taken subsequent to the trial, action, and sentencing for the crime by any other party should serve to bring disrespect or disrepute to our legal system of justice. Fifth, I am sure we will hear from MacDonald's counsel that he has since his incarceration been a model prisoner. In Exhibit 2, attached hereto, is a group of letters MacDonald wrote while in prison to a woman variously called by him Tony, Tonette, Big Red. These letters were included in the papers left to me by Fred Kassab and later found by me with his possessions. In 1987 and 1988, while Jeffrey MacDonald was in federal prison, he sent a number of letters to a woman he addressed as Tony, Tonette, or Big Red. The woman was apparently a reporter who conducted interviews for a radio station. A reading of these letters reflects that this woman visited MacDonald in prison and that they were alone in a room. As MacDonald described in graphic detail, he engaged in various sexual acts with this woman when he visited him in prison. MacDonald further described the sexual acts he planned to perform with the woman when she would be able to visit him again in prison. Using her status as a member of the media or as a defense investigator, it is also apparent from these letters that MacDonald was encouraging the woman to attempt to compromise government investigators and witnesses whom he named, using her status as a reporter to conduct pretext interviews. MacDonald, as a free man on parole without remorse and repentance, would be an act that would serve to bring disrespect and disrepute to the legal system of justice in the United States. This is no mere white-collar criminal, no repeat offender in DWI cases, but a man now legendary enough as a guilty killer that his name was used recently in the game of Jeopardy. The lead being the man who killed his family on an army base and tried to blame it on hippies. And the question, of course, being, who is Jeffrey MacDonald? The man has so become a symbol of the psychotically driven murderous liars that he is now in the public domain as such. Freedom for MacDonald would be unthinkable at this point. In what justice book or moral code would that be an acceptable outcome? We don't even have a born-again Christian here to be repentant of his sins to work with now, do we? While MacDonald can clearly be seen behaviorally as a sociopathic personality who committed a psychopathically driven beastly crime, and that he is one who will never admit to the truth or to his guilt. Therefore, his lack of remorse and acceptance of his guilt manifesting themselves in his continued protestations of innocence should never be used as any part of a justification of parole, and in fact it is just the opposite. The only punishment this man will ever know is seeing his intellectual lifeblood spill out on the floor at his feet, worthlessly, uselessly on the floor of a cell in a prison, day by day after day. A form of intellectual onanism, if you will. That pain, I am confident he can feel, because he is an intelligent man, and the fact that he has not one accomplishment in his life to this day, as against all that might have been, cannot stand well with a narcissist. Nor having even a child on the planet, no great work, no children, all a waste. Each and every day of his life to be a sentence that will continue each morning of his life and last till his last conscious thought. That he is and his life has been a total waste of time to him, to the state, and to the taxpayers. I have, as a result of been an unwilling participant in part of Jeffrey MacDonald's life to change one of my intellectual positions long held. I am no longer against the death penalty. I wish it had been in place and used in this case, as the continued life of fraud and lies and harm he brought to others would have been long ago silenced. To release an unrepentant and unremorseful brutal murderer after he has been tried according to the law of the land, and who after all of this time continues on a day-to-day basis to lie, to fabricate about the events of, will be to make a mockery of the very laws under which he was tried and convicted, as well as strike at the underpinnings of our entire system of jurisprudence. Sixth and last, if taking refuge behind the skirts of a 44-year-old woman so that she can continue to tell the lies and untruths no one believes of him anymore, in any way desanctifies his request for parole, it would be a virtual miscarriage of justice for him to go free, because he is now a married man, and that somehow changes everything. It changes nothing. She is merely his latest victim, there to give him the appearance of roots in the community or any such irrelevancies he should choose to float on the parole hearing officers. Frankly, at this point, no one I know can conceive of by what logic a man with his past applies for parole. His incredible crimes that literally boggles the mind, his convictions and legal reviews ad nauseum can possibly make. Is he a changed man? What evidence is that? His acceptance of his guilt? No. There is nothing for MacDonald to hold out to any of us that can be convincing. He is now a liar and a fraud, and he always was, just trying again to tell his story to a new generation of the ignorant people, and hoping to fool the prison system into disgorging him for some reason no one I know or have spoken with can fathom. I propose that MacDonald has nothing to discuss with the parole hearing officers until he has accepted his guilt, shown remorse for his crimes, and has served at least 2/3 of his sentence as mandated by the court for the awesomely brutal crimes he committed, and in effect continues to commit each and every day that he denies what he did to those 4 people, and to those in my family that by his selfish, egotistical, maniacal behavior and his continued sociopathic denial of the truth he continues to harm on a daily basis. I further propose that on this May 10th, which would have been Colette's birthday, and that the parole officers shall make May 10th a real Colette Stevenson birthday, and allow the prior judgment and sentence of the court to stand as it is, 3 consecutive life sentences, with not a minute off for good behavior, or whatever his self-serving basis would be that he thinks he should offset his brutal crimes in his value-distorted mind. No, Jeffrey MacDonald has not begun to suffer as he made his family suffer. Consider the manner and over the period of time of the blows continued to fall on each of their unbelieving minds as their fragile bodies and minds were simultaneously shattered by a vicious madman killing his family in a murderous rage, dragging Colette back to the master bedroom where the attack had begun after she had been after she had dragged her broken body into the small bedroom to try to save her youngest child as he butchered yet another of her children. Of how his efforts on their annihilation was to save his cowardly self from exposure, from conviction, and then the ultimate cowardice for a father of any species, to execute your own child to protect yourself from the possibility of prosecution. The act of the ultimate coward, the only title he deserves, not parole E. Sincerely, Robert C. Stevenson.
What more can we say?
Yeah.
That's what Bobby Stevenson had to say.
True now, true then.
How do you feel having read that?
Oh, it's incredible. Really incredible.
It was something we talked about on the first emergency episode. I'm not making a political point here. God forbid.
No.
But I do think there's a problem culturally where we can fail to treat each other with proper reverence, and we fail to appreciate the weight of glory that is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
And we deal with news and events with this attitude of trolling and punditry and anyway, whatever. So, I mean, as you were talking, I was seeing Greg Kelly, as you were reading Bobby Stevenson's letter, and again, that's Colette's brother. I'm seeing the face of Greg Kelly with this smarmy grin thing, like making his case to Miss Alice. Like,
Yeah.
has Miss Alice not suffered enough in her life to now have to listen to your bullshit?
Yeah.
And now, and you're just gonna you're playing your little game when you I mean, you don't know really anything about this case. Has he ever read the letter that you just read? It's all a big game for him.
It is. Yeah, it's a way. It would be a, and I'm sure everyone has a lawyer, but it would be a win for the lawyer too to get MacDonald out before he dies.
Oh, let's get a win. Let's go get a win.
Let's get him a win. I mean, I'm reminded of the story that Jim Blackburn told me that I think it was the end of 2024 that Wade approached him and said, "Oh, we're trying to get a pardon for MacDonald, and we want you to co-sign it." He's like, "Wouldn't that just wrap everything up in a nice bow for everybody, to just everybody team up and get a pardon now?" And I think Jim said his first call was to the U.S. attorney, like, "Watch out, there's a letter coming in. Look out for that." So yeah, no, I know that the whole idea that he suffered enough, it's preposterous. It's just Bob clearly stated it better than anybody could as to why it's ridiculous. The lack of repentance.
Right.
It's absurd. It's absurd to think that he could be free on parole.
Well, and you listen to how Miss Alice framed the issue. She talks about second chances. So she talks about redemption for people who have done what? Who have made mistakes that they're taking accountability for. and are now trying to do something different. That is
Yeah.
that's impossible for Jeffrey MacDonald.
No, because his very existence as you can't even the amount. If you look at those websites, those archives, the amount of appeals and motions and he's just tortured the victim's family for decades with his constant litigation and winning over media personalities to the very end, even now the most marginal you can think of. But yeah, his whole life has been one disgrace. And I guess I got a lot. I got really high off of. I'd forgotten. I've read it before, the letter before, but the whole idea that we're torturing MacDonald by letting his brilliant mind bleed out on the prison floor, no glory, just pure, just being trapped. And then I got very emotional when he said he betrayed his own conviction about the death penalty, because the torture he was able to deal out as a living unrepentant prisoner on his family was on the family of Bob and and Fred and Mildred was
and just the horrible, hateful, slanderous things he was able to say about them.
Oh, and to anybody everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So we're hitting the hour.
Yeah. Do we
have
have any comments tonight?
Other people here?
Looks like we got about 18. Or no, yeah, 18.
Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you, Positive Planets, for all the encouragement. This person just finished reading Fatal Vision. Very happy about that. Kathy JG made a good point about if Miss Alice properly vets the case, she will have to hear from both sides, and there would have to be a formal application for a commutation.
Is that true?
What's that?
There's got to be a formal application for a commutation?
I don't know. That's what Kathy said.
Okay.
Well, just based on what Alice Johnson was saying, is there is a process.
There's a process. Yeah, it's not supposed to just be you skip the line and get free.
Yeah. Then again, in this term, we have seen some commutations and pardons that are questionable.
Yeah, hopefully it wouldn't come out of Miss Alice, though. It sounds like she's deals with things in a fair way.
No, I don't think she was going through the pardons he made on day one. I don't think she was even the Pardon Czar yet. All right, we got any questions? I'd like to just extend an open invitation again to reiterate. Greg Kelly, please come on and talk.
We'd love to have you, brother. I also offered to. I said we would go on his show too. I'll be willing to do it.
I'm sorry I called you a tool earlier, Greg. I'm just messing around, but you know this game. Like you know this punditry game.
It's all about
but we'd love to talk to you about the case. Might be fun for your viewers. All right, Pommy 5093 says, I've been watching all your videos starting from the beginning, really enjoying them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Candace says, no worries, Trump would never set him free. Okay.
Great.
Some people think that Trump is really a good guy, and okay, I'll take your word for that. I don't know. I just focus on the case. I don't really think about anything.
My only issue is the case, and all I care about is that MacDonald dies in prison.
Yep. So if you have on good authority that Trump is good and would not do that, then I thank you for the information. I have no reason not to believe you. Okay. Hami 5093 and question: will you be reading any other of Joe's books? Well,
Are you getting something, Billy, or are you just
Yeah,
you
it's
just
going to take
walking
us to
around?
just get my steps in.
Yeah.
This is my second favorite Joe
Oh
McGinnis
yeah.
book. It's
Yeah.
called
There you go. That's a good
Miracle
one.
Castle de Sangro.
Yeah. I've got my camera sitting on a stack of them here. Let me. Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch of them right here. It's a great
This
one.
this this copy was given to me as a birthday present from my mom, and she asked James to uh,
Mm.
inscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And then James had some kind of spiritual moment and just channeled his father. So it's as though it's signed by Joe McGinnis.
Yes.
Billy, always remember, as I did not, that it's always better to burn in hell than to burn a bridge. Happy
Wow.
birthday, Ciao Joe, April 26th, 2023.
Wow. It's already been 3 years. Almost, no, not yet. Just a couple months. It'll be 3 years.
And Candace makes another good point. The Pardon Czar
Yeah.
lady sure did not tell that clown. Yeah, yeah. I
No.
agree. I don't think she responded favorably to what
No.
Greg
No.
Kelly
You know
said.
the transcript is scarier, more ominous
Yeah,
than
yeah.
seeing the
She
video.
she basically goes, yeah, he could get a compassionate release anyway. I care about this other thing
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it seemed like she was just kind of weirded out. So let's just go with that. But we're still here. We are where we are, and we got to. And I think it was more than merited to pause and announce. Because a public appeal was made to the person who can make it happen. Um, on this week of all weeks, to pause and share some victim impact stuff, which I thought was profound.
Yeah, somehow I knew you wanted to do that, but I was getting names wrong.
Well, no, because I just was saying that the next part of Fatal Vision that we're reading is when the CID talks to Bobby and his wife. So that's what I was referring to. So yeah, we could read some of Bobby then, and then you're like, oh, you want to read Bobby's parole letter? I was like, Jesus, that's a great idea.
Yeah. All right,
Apparently, he said a lot more in the hearing that hasn't been redacted yet, it is still redacted. What his verbal statement was, I would like to get a hold of that. I'd like to also get a hold of his statement that he made at the compassionate release, the McDonald's compassionate release hearing in 2021, when he said he had less than a year to live then.
Okay, we got one more from Positive Planets. Did you guys meet in grad school or law school? I must read more Joe McGinnis. What's that title again? Oh, look, I gave you the title in the chat. Miracle of Castle de Sangro.
Mm-hmm.
James and I met just through a friend named Sam in Western Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
We did end up going to grad school together as well. For the full. For the full story of our meeting and joining forces, last episode,
Most recent episode, we did a full breakdown, and we might even bring Sam in as a wraparound interview at some point. Sort of show, because he's also a listener, so I think he'd be able to keep up with us too, some nights. But
we got to have Sam on.
oh yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Thanks for being
All right.
here on
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sticking it out
dark
on
time.
on a somber night. This is a somber case, a serious case, and we take our job seriously to speak out for the victims when on weeks like this where it's only the devil is getting his due. So, but other than that, we love you, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
All right.
All right.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Sorry.